you want to have eggs, you got to have chickens. You want to have chickens, you got to feed them. If you're going to feed them, the predominant thing in that diet is going to be corn.
Corn, right.
So we might not be able to say which came first, the chicken or the egg, but in your case, we can say which came first, the chicken feed or the egg. It was the chicken feed.
When you're looking at that end egg, it starts with what are we putting in the feed. It's as intentional as you are what you eat, and that egg is the result of what that bird eats, is the result of a company that said we recognize our consumer wants a beautiful product that's also nutritious. You are what you eat, bottom line.
So are chickens.
Exactly.
The original mill was built 1751 to 1754 in that area. My granddad and my great uncle bought it 1943. They'd already been here for 20 years running it for another man.
So they just worked for the man who owned the mill.
They worked for the man. Another man, Edwards, bought it, and then my granddad worked for them, and in 1943 they bought the operation. And behind, in the early 1950s, they built the first chicken houses up here behind here, 1 and 2.
All right.
And we got into the chicken business, and but not the eggs. We would just raise for meat and things like that. And then finally got into the eggs, and then my dad and my uncle came back into it after service, 1955, 56. And they bought a flour mill in Nashville that y'all were at this morning.
That's Nashville, North Carolina.
Nashville, North Carolina, the original North Carolina, established in 1780. So, and turned it into an animal feed mill. They needed something for my dad and my uncle to do, so they bought the flour mill in Nashville, and then started some right up the road here, some layer houses and eggs.
I'm with Trey Braswell. He's the 4th generation of Braswells to be in this egg business, and we're with about 11,000 of our closest friends right now. Trey, this is phenomenal. When you come in a place like this, you look and you go, well, there's no cages. There's really, when they say cage-free chicken, that's a cage-free chicken. These ladies are free to roam.
That's right. They're free to roam all the way up and down this house, and check in on all their lovely neighbors.
See what's going up, and they had a great deal of curiosity when we all came in. I would think ordinarily what y'all can't see is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 other people with us. It's not often these girls get 7 or 8 or 9 visitors at one time.
No,
I would
this
think.
is a lot of traffic for them. They see someone every day. James is in here every single day, but they don't see a large group of people like this.
Well, they know he's where the food comes from.
That's right.
Now, James is the farmer who actually maintains that.
Mr. James Tharrington is the farmer who, this is his farm. He owns these houses. He's been a great partner with Braswell Family Farms for many years, and he does a great job. And they see him every day, and he's checking in on them, making sure that their food systems are working, they're getting good water, the air is good, checking on the birds, making sure that nothing stands out, doesn't hear anything that's offbeat. So they're very comfortable with him, and you can tell the brown birds are very docile. Even though there's 8 of us in here, they're just as calm as they could be, and they're right here around our feet.
Now, what breed are they?
Well, these are these are probably a Highline brown. We also use a Bovine brown from time to time, but it's a commercial brown egg layer breed that's typically it comes from a cross of 2 kind of heritage breeds. I think it's a Rhode Island Red and a Barred Rock, if I remember right. So it is offspring of some traditional brown egg laying breeds.
Now, you say brown egg laying breeds. That's a question I've always had. Brown eggs, white eggs. What chicken lays brown eggs? What chicken lays white? You would look around and go, well, these chickens are pretty brown. They must lay brown eggs. How does that work, though?
Well, we have a lot of people with paintbrushes back at the plant and a lot of brown paint. You know, that's a...
wait a minute. That's like somebody who told me chocolate milk comes from brown cow. I don't think either of those things is right, Trey. How do you know? I mean, is there a way to tell if the chicken's going to lay brown or white eggs?
I would say more often than not, you know, the large majority of breeds, a brown egg comes from a chicken with a red earlobe. So you can see back behind their eye, they have
right behind it,
they have a red earlobe, and a chicken with a white earlobe typically lays a white egg. That's the case in most breeds. There's probably a handful in the hundreds of outliers, but for the most part, and certainly in commercial egg production, a red earlobe means you'll end up with a brown egg.
So when it's time for them to lay that egg, do they just make their way to one of these little nooks that we have here? Or do they just drop it where they are? How does that?
They retain the characteristics and instincts of the primitive jungle fowl, which is what domesticated chickens came from. And jungle fowl, they would look for somewhere safe and dark.
A nest.
A nest to have their nest and lay their eggs. So, we provide spaces
all
for
these
them.
little hidey holes here.
That's right, all along the way where they can go in. These are single bird nests where they can go in and privately lay their egg.
Right.
So it's really neat. We're years from the jungle fowl, but they all retain those characteristics.
We all do. We're all carrying those same things with us, and that's all. I think that's part of the process. How often do these ladies lay?
Generally at their peak, they're laying about one egg every 26 hours.
Okay, so basically an egg a day, and we look around and there's about 11,000 chickens in this house, so roughly probably 10 to 11,000 eggs a day.
That's right.
You're producing 2 million eggs a day.
Close to it, that's right.
There's a lot more chickens other places than this. It's hard if you look down this sea of chickens and think to yourself, that's only 11,000, and then you stop and think it takes 2 million more. Trey, people don't understand how vast the world really is and how many people 7 billion is.
That's right.
Those eggs that you produce, 2 million a day almost, they're gone in a trice.
That's a drop in the bucket.
I mean, time they hit the skittle, they're gone. The griddle, they're gone.
That's right. It's a drop in the bucket for what the world uses every day.
Wow. Trey, when they go up and find their little nook, where their little nest and nook where they're going to lay that egg, how are those eggs collected? If you're picking up 10 or 11,000 eggs, I used to go out to my granny's chicken coop with a basket and grab 7 or 8. But how do you pick up 11,000 at a house and you got 2 million a day to pick up?
Well, you wouldn't believe it, but we do still have some houses that are hand collected.
Wow.
These houses here, when they go in there, the bottom of the nest is slanted back and it rolls into a belt. And James will collect the eggs each day. He'll run the belt and they'll put them on a flat. And we pick those flats up out of the coop. But we do still, I think we might still have a couple houses that are hand collected.
Wow.
They used to all be that way.
But some things you're just not going to replace or improve upon.
That's right. Part would be that, we are all operating under veterinarian, there's a veterinary board that approves, all of our operating procedures and how we take care of our animals.
So what's the working span of these chickens? How long are they going to be good layers? How long do you keep them working?
We do. So we get them at 1 day old, and we'll raise them in what we call a pullet house. So they're in there and they're not laying eggs. They're just growing, putting body frame and weight on, just like a child does before they reach that puberty stage.
Sure.
And then we move them into a layer house like this. And and they'll start laying depending on their maturity if they mature early, but they generally will start laying an egg around 16 to 17 weeks old. And the brown birds we typically have for about 80 weeks, and then they will go, they might be sold into the live market. We would sell them to another company that would use them.
Sure.
Either sell them into the live market for meat or a company that'll use them for other lesser quality proteins.
Right.
But the wonderful thing about a chicken is nothing gets wasted.
Right.
The manure, the bird, everything gets used just to continue to whether the manure gets used for the corn, that it gets used to feed the chickens, but the bird, everything gets used for a future protein or a lesser quality protein.
And that's the circle of life, and that's
right.
also stewardship. And I never met a farmer who wasn't a steward first.
Yeah, there's a unfortunate image that some people have fallen victim to, that they think farmers, especially livestock farmers, don't take care of their animals.
Right.
But that would be counterintuitive, because if we didn't take care of our animals wouldn't, take care of us.
Absolutely.
And be profitable and be productive. And it's just like humans, the healthier and happier we are, the more effective, the more productive that we are.
If anybody was scared of birds, this would not be the place to be.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the place, but these birds aren't going to hurt you.
No, but the only thing I can think is they apparently like boots.
They're very curious.
I've had quite a few of them over here pecking on mine. Fortunately, they're covered up in all this protective plastic gear you saw. But ladies, have at. Enjoy yourselves. Do your worst. Thanks for letting me visit. So our day started out early. We got up when the chickens did this morning. We've gone from the feed process to the chicken process to the egg house process. This is really the last mile in these eggs' life before they actually get on the truck and ride that last mile to somebody's house. This is a pretty amazing facility. Tell us some of what we were looking at in there.
Sure. I handle the processing and the transportation. So, we pick them up from the farm, we bring them over here to get processed. What you see out here is a mobile egg grater. That machine will process 530 cases of eggs an hour, so it's 30 dozen in a case. It'll fill a tractor trailer in 2 hours.
2 hours, front to back.
Front to back. Wow. It'll fill a tractor trailer. So that machine, what it does, basically the eggs go into it, it cleans them, it inspects them, it weighs them, because eggs are sold by weight, not by size. And then we'll put them in the correct carton. It'll put the date on the carton and send it out to the packing line where it's packed in a case, goes around to the back into the cooler.
And when we say it inspects them, it's actually looking outside and inside.
So
it's actually looking inside that egg.
It does. So it's looking on the outside for dirt. It's looking and it's looking for blood on the inside.
Mm-hmm. Or any other flaws, just anything that shouldn't be part of that egg that's going home with somebody.
That's right. And it also, detects the cracks in the eggs. And it's an interesting way that it does that. It does it by sound. Because something that's cracked,
I can see that.
Something that's cracked gives off a different pitch than something that's not cracked. So as the egg is going through the machine, these little probes are tapping the top of the egg, and it's listening for the sound. And from that, it can determine if it's a crack that you actually can't see, because some of them can be what they call a hairline crack, and not really visible, but that machine will pick them out.
Because by the time it took a ride on a truck, got to the store, and got in your back seat,
it's a much
what
bigger.
wasn't visible might be a mess in your car.
Exactly. We don't want that to happen. We want the customer to get 12 grade A eggs.
So these lines, how often is this? 5 days a week, 7 days a week? How does this run?
So we run this plant 7 days a week.
7 days a week.
365 days a year.
365
because
days
the chickens don't take a day off.
They're not waiting, are they?
They're not waiting.
They don't even know it's Christmas, do they?
They do not. They're going to lay that egg every day, and somebody's got to be here to collect them, gather them, process them, put them in a carton, and get them into the cooler.
Because time's a wasting, and when you're dealing with a perishable product, from the moment that it exists, you're on a clock.
Absolutely. That's right.
So as we see these things turn over and turn over and turn over, who knows how many eggs come through here in a year? Somebody does. It's not me. You don't know that by any chance.
What I can tell you is I'm better at by the day. By the day, right now we're processing 2,400 cases from the girls that are on site right here, as we like to call them, and then we're bringing in about another 2,000 to 3,000 cases that we bring offline and run through this machine. So
and those cases, again, are 30 dozen.
That's right.
So we do 30 dozen times X number of thousand.
Yeah.
Somebody at home has a calculator out right now trying to figure out, and I'm gonna let them do that. Y'all send me an email and let me know what you come up with on how many eggs that is.
I don't know the exact number, but somewhere I think, in this year we're projecting, I know it's somewhere like 40 million and 40 million plus eggs.
Wow.
That we would
just
process.
Out of this one facility. And then once they're on that truck and on the road, the next stop is, are they going to the store, or are they going to if they're going to grocery chain X, are they going to that company's distribution center, or are these already packaged and labeled and they're going to store X, store Y, store Z?
So they're always packaged and labeled for the individual customer, but some customers want them shipped to their warehouse. From there, they'll ship them out, and other customers want us to bring them right directly to the store.
But the bottom line, I mean, I've heard it said around here several times today, still warm.
Yes.
Going out the door, still warm. So it's a lot of moving parts. Do you break a lot of eggs?
Yeah, well, if you play with eggs, you're going to break a few. No doubt about it. We try our best not to, but it's going to happen. Usually learn pretty quick. New people come to work here, they're going to break a few, but after you have to clean them up a few times, yeah, you get better at it real quick.
People wonder sometimes about the cleanliness and sanitation and food safety that the industry itself does. Sometimes they don't understand how seriously farmers are and food processors, everybody in the food chain. Food safety is top of mind because you really can't get it wrong. If you get it wrong once, you might not get another chance.
That's right. So here at Braswell, we have a USDA inspector on site.
On site.
On site.
And that's not a Braswell employee. That's not some guy you're paying to go, our eggs are okay, aren't they? This is the USDA, and he's got an office. We walked right past the door over there.
That's correct. He has his own office, and he has total authority to come in and shut the plant down if it's not clean, if it's not being processed correctly, or if your eggs are coming out under the proper quality. And so he has a special booth, a small canning booth with a light in it, and he'll take samples of eggs, and he'll take those eggs and he'll put them in that light and look through them. And he's checking them for cracks, he's checking them for quality, he's checking the date, he's checking the weights, because eggs are sold by weight. A lot of people, when they hear jumbo, extra large, and large, are thinking about how big the eggs are.
That's what I always thought. You mean it's not?
It's not. It's actually how much they weigh. And
really?
That determines whether it's a jumbo, extra large, or large. And so he's got a set of scales in there, and he'll weigh those eggs and make sure that you're not selling underweight eggs.
If it says it's a jumbo, it better be a jumbo. And if it says it's a small, it's going to be a small.
Exactly.
That's incredible. So again, this is all just part of the pictures, part of the process. Even though that computer is checking every egg that goes through this facility, USDA is still sampling to make sure everything agrees.
That's right. He's a final inspector, and he's keeping a close eye on things.
So we know all of these eggs have come from all of these local farms around here. They're heading out the door. The next stop, they're on a truck. From that truck, they're either going to a grocery chain's central distribution facility, or in some cases, they might be going directly to a store. But this is, once they go on that truck, they're out of your hands. That's the last mile between them and the people who are going to be eating them. And you're trying to get them there as quickly as possible. How far do your eggs travel?
Well, we actually ourselves ship eggs all the way up into Pennsylvania.
Wow.
Yep. So we have accounts here in North Carolina, Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania. We're going to South Carolina as well.
So a lot of miles, a lot of weight. There's a lot of people eating eggs that they can look at their breakfast plate, or any time of day. Let's not be judgmental. You can eat an egg anytime you choose, and think and look, if it was Eggland's Best or some of these other brands that are packed here, the other labels, the Nature's Choice, the all the ones that come from all of these fantastic farms around here, they'll know they came from this spot in North Carolina, or there's a really good chance if you're on the Eastern Seaboard, your eggs were packed right here.
Absolutely.
That's incredible, you know? 2 million eggs since we started this morning, and they are already on the road to you now. In 24 to 48 hours, they'll mostly be gone. That's okay. There'll be 2 million more on the way by then. This was exactly the story I wanted to tell you today. It was a bit of a scramble, and that's no yoke. I'm no expert, but I don't think we answered that big question we started the day with, and I don't really think we ever will, out here where the food comes from.